Hello everyone, welcome to our talk about Terraform meets Elastic Cloud. We'll be dealing with HashiCorp's Terraform as well as Elastic Cloud in this talk. About us, I'm Adithya Krishna and I'm an associate software engineer at Red Hat. And along with me, I have my friend Karthik Ravishankar, who's a software developer at Morgan Stanley. And these are our digital credentials for Twitter and LinkedIn. So, coming to the agenda of this talk, firstly, we're going to give a brief introduction about Terraform, followed by a Terraform demo on how to download and set it up. And then we're going to talk about Elastic Cloud. And finally, we're going to wrap it up with Elastic Cloud demo. Now, what is infrastructure as code? It means to manage your IT infrastructure using configuration files or code instead of a manual process. Automating infrastructure provisioning with IaC means that developers don't need to rely upon a manual process, let's say something like GUI or CLI for that matter, and they can use the code itself to manage servers, operating systems, storage, etc. And they can even deploy or push an application to production. Coming to the two different ways of infrastructure approaches. So we have a declarative approach and then we have an imperative approach. So a declarative approach defines the desired state of the system, including what resources you may need. Let's say any properties like it should have this many amount of RAM or storage or anything for that matter. And the IaC tool will configure it for you. The imperative approach is something which defines the specific commands needed to achieve a desired configuration, and it can be executed in the correct order. So, as I said, these are the two ways of approach to an IaC. Now, coming to Terraform. What is Terraform? Terraform is Terraform is an infrastructure as code tool that allows you to build, change, or version your infrastructure safely and efficiently. This includes both low-level components like compute instances, storage, networking interfaces, etc. All of this is done using a declarative configuration language known as HashiCorp configuration language, which is a proprietary language by HashiCorp itself. But now you may get a question where and why it is used. It can be used to deploy your infrastructure using code, manage your Kubernetes environment, manage virtual machine images. You can even use it to inject secrets to Terraform, integrate with existing workloads, and of course workflows as well. So that's about it regarding Terraform. Now let's talk about the demo. For now, I will run you through how you can download the Terraform CLI and then how you can install it in your PC, and then how you can basically set up an AWS EC2 instance using Terraform. So now let's learn how you can download the Terraform CLI. For that, you need to go to this specific link, www.terraform.io/downloads, and then you will be greeted with this screen. Here you can choose your operating system, let's say Mac OS, Windows, Linux. In my case, I'm going to choose with Mac OS, and as I'm having an M1 chipset, so I'll be going ahead with the ARM one. Let me just put it in desktop. Now we have downloaded the zip file having this Terraform CLI tool. Now let's unzip the zip file and move it to the local bin. For that, let's go to CD. Desktop, and let me just unzip it really quick. Let me just check if everything is there. Yeah, we have Terraform here. So now let me just confirm Terraform dash version. And as I've already installed Terraform in my PC already, so let me just use this command to move it to the local bin, such that the Terraform CLI commands will be accessible in any directory for that matter. So once that is done, you can check your Terraform CLI if everything is working or not by going to some other directory. Let's say cd dot, then let me just go to cd source, and then let me just check Terraform dash version. So yeah, the current version here is 1.3.4 and the one here is 1.3.4 itself. So now let us install the AWS CLI. For that, you will need to go to this specific URL. Or probably you can just type the URL in your kernel as well using this specific command. Let me just do that. Okay, that is done. And then I have to run the installer for that. So yeah, the upgrade was successful. Then let me just, which AWS? Yeah, it has successfully been installed now. Then let me just check the current version of it. Yep, the CLI commands run successfully now. Let me just clear the console. Let's go back to the directory. Now, there is a couple of additional steps which you need to configure regarding AWS itself. For that, we'll need to go to the AWS console, specifically to the IAM management console, and you can access it by clicking security credentials. And then I'm going to click on access keys, create a new access key. Then these are the details. Let me just copy them. For safety matters, let us just download the key file as well. And let me just close it. Now that is done, we have the access key ready as well as the secret access key ready. Let us go ahead and provision the provision an EC2 instance using Terraform. Before that, let me just go to my AWS console. And we have an instance running. Let me just stop that. And yeah, the previous instances have been terminated now. Let me just refresh the page. Yeah, there are no instances as you can see here. Now, let us go to the Terraform file. Let's say you have to create a new Terraform instance using, AWS instance using Terraform. You will need to create a file known as main.tf. And this is the basic structure of the main.tf file, and is written in Terraform or HashiCorp configuration language. And you have this specific block. Let me just So this specific block contains the Terraform settings. What type of provider? Let's say, for example, AWS. In this matter, what is the version, and where are we tapping it from? And now we are tapping it from the HashiCorp registry itself. And then coming to the next part, we have the provider, which is like a plugin that Terraform uses to create and manage your resources. And this block configures the specified provider, which you just gave in the previous step. And the next part is the resource thing. A resource might be a physical or virtual component. For example, let's say an EC2 instance, logical instance, or anything for that matter. So let me just go here and type it as HashiTalks deploy 2022, and you can configure your instance type, and I'm going to go ahead with T2 micro, which is the base variant in AWS. So once that is done, let us go back to the CLI. Let me just Control C, then check ls cat main.tf. So yeah, this is our Terraform file. So now there are a couple of commands which you need to run. Those are specifically to initialize your Terraform files, to format, validate, and then apply this configuration, what and all you gave in main.tf. And after that, your AWS instance will be deployed immediately. So now let me just type Terraform init. Yep, it has been successfully initialized now. The next command is okay, the formatting looks good as well. Then let's just validate. After that, we have before that, we need to export the AWS secret key. So let me just copy these things. Then I need to give the secret key here. That is done, and then we have the secret access key. That is also done now. So we have finished the basic requirement parts. So now let us just go ahead and apply whatever we just did. So Terraform apply. So do you want to proceed? Yes. And here you can see the configurations which you have given, and for now we just went ahead with the basic configuration, and we have chosen the AMI to be AMI Amazon's basic thing itself. Then after that we have the instance type, which we gave as T2 micro. And yeah, once I type yes and then hit enter, it will be applied. And you will get this logs here. So yeah, as you can see here, the apply thing is completed right now and the resources has been created. Let's just go back to the AWS console and let's refresh this page. Yep, as you can see here, we just deployed a EC2 instance using code itself. So that's regarding Terraform and how you can use code to deploy your infrastructure.
Thank you, Adithya. That was a great demo and introduction to Terraform itself. So I'm here to talk about how you can actually use the Elastic Cloud with Terraform. So before we actually get into the demo, I just want to do a short introduction about what Elastic is and what Elastic Cloud is. So Elastic is basically a search engine company. It's a super fast search engine, and they also have a lot of other products and SaaS offerings. And some of their very popular tools include Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. They also have a wonderful observability APM offering. So all of these basically, when it comes together, is called Elastic Cloud. So basically, how Elastic calls or talks about Elastic Cloud is that it's a best way to consume all of Elastic's products on basically any cloud. You can easily deploy from your favorite cloud or use the cloud that Elastic offers. So yeah, basically why you should be using Elastic Cloud is basically you can deploy and scale on any cloud in the matter of minutes, and that makes it really effective because you don't really have to have infrastructure, or you don't really have to have installations done. It's a matter of minutes. We'll just be showing how easy it is in our demo. Another important reason why you should be using is since you don't really do any sort of infrastructure here, you basically get a smaller bill. You reduce your total cost of ownership, and it's good for your pocket. Another important reason why you should be using Elastic Cloud is that you will definitely be protecting your data with the built-in security that's on offer. So that's definitely an important consideration as to why you should be using the Elastic Cloud. So yeah, that's one more important reason to use Elastic Cloud. So another important reason is to enforce policy as cloud, policy as code. So with that, I think we know what Elastic Cloud has to offer. We know how good the product is, but how easy is it to get started? So that's something I'll be showing you guys in my demo. So it's time for my demo, another demo. This time it'll be short, I promise. So to do this exercise, you need to have an Elastic Cloud account, which is free of cost. You get to do a 14-day trial. You don't need a credit card for this, which is a really good thing. You can get started with your email address. So I already set up an Elastic Cloud account. So I'm already logged into it. So before you do this exercise, make sure you have an Elastic Cloud account. And next up, let me just search for Elastic Terraform provider. So the first link here, I'm going to that. So you might just be wondering what an Elastic Cloud provider is. So Terraform basically has these plugin sort of a thing called provider. So it's basically a way to use third-party APIs through Terraform. So right now we'll be hitting Elastic Cloud's APIs through Terraform. So for this, we are using the Elastic Cloud provider on the Terraform registry, which you can see. So before we actually go ahead and do something with respect to the code of Terraform, I think it's important for us to authenticate our Elastic Cloud account. How we want to do it is through the API keys, of course. So Elastic Cloud basically offers API keys, and I'm going to show you guys how you can generate one. So on this fourth step, of course, firstly you'll have to go to the website and do a login with your account, and go to the Elasticsearch service. You can just follow these links and just click on this link to go to the page where you can generate API keys. So I am going to create an API key. So I am going to name it HashiTalks. Okay, it's telling me that I'm not part of an organization. So let me just add an organization. I'm just going to call it okay, that looks good. So let me try to create this API key now. Yes, so now since we are part of this organization in the account, it let me create this key. So I'm going to just copy this key because when you open this for the next time, you won't be able to see it. I'm just going to copy it here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and create a new folder. Go to Visual Studio Code. I'm going to go to the desktop, and I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it HashiTalks demo, and inside of this folder I'm going to basically open this up first. I am going to create a file and call it secrets.txt. I'm going to save this and make sure we have it secure so that we don't no longer need this. So now that we have the API key, what you should be doing is you should be setting this up. You should be using this in the background. Basically, you don't want to be hard coding values like this. You don't want, this is not a very recommended way of storing keys. So that's why we are authenticating using the API key, for which you will have to use this environment variables by using this command, and in the place of this I'm going to put my API key. So let me show you guys how I will be doing that. Yep. So I'm just going to and in this place I'm going to put this key which I just generated, and I'm going to hit enter. All good. So it's saved as an environment variable, and we are good to proceed to the next step. So what we want to do is now get started with the actual stuff. So before we go to the next step, it's important for us to use this provider itself. So how do we use this provider? So you just have to include this particular code in your main.tf file. So I'm just going to copy this and create a new main.tf file. And I'm just going to paste it. So what we right now have is we have the required providers, EC, which is Elastic Cloud, and it has the source and the version of the Elastic Cloud provider, which is the latest version, that's 0.5.0. And it says the provider is EC. We can have some configuration options like I showed you earlier. We can put in our email ID and password, though it's not recommended, but if you want to really do it, that's where you will be doing it. But right now we don't want to use it, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to resources, and I'm just going to do a small EC deployment, which is the Elastic Cloud deployment. This is the most basic deployment that you can do. So this is how this is the code that I'll have to use. I'm just going to copy this and paste it and then explain what it's going to do. So I'm going to paste it below this. Yeah. So if you can see, it starts from here. It says data Elastic Cloud Stack latest. So what we're saving here is basically the version of Elasticsearch or Elastic Cloud that we want to use. So if we want to use the latest version of Elastic Cloud, so Elastic Cloud also has a lot of versions. Versions keep rolling out. So we choose the latest version here, and we want to use the region US East 1. So that is something that we are defining in the data. So we will refer to this data later on in our Terraform file below, which I'll be showing. So this is where all the data goes in a Terraform file. Coming to the resource, which is the heart of the Terraform file, we are showing all resources that we want to create. So resource, for example, we are doing an EC deployment, which is an Elastic Cloud deployment, which is a typical Elastic Cloud deployment. We're using we can name this. Of course, it's an optional parameter, but I want to name this deployment. If you don't actually include this optional name, it's going to just generate some random value and name it. But I want to name it HashiTalks, and let me save it. The mandatory fields that you see here are region, version, and deployment template ID. So the region, like you saw, is US East 1. You can change this. The version that we want Elastic Cloud to make a deployment on is the latest version. So how do you say it's the latest version? You refer the data, and in the data you refer to the EC stack, and in EC stack you refer to latest, and in the latest it's going to choose the version. So it's going to definitely fetch the latest version of Elastic Cloud. Next up, we use the deployment template ID, which is AWS IO optimized v2. This is the template ID. And what else do we want as part of resources? We want Elasticsearch, we want Kibana, we want the integration server, and the enterprise search. So all of this, like we have included in this resource, we will have all these resources created for us. So that's the simple explanation of the Terraform file. I'm going to save this and I'm going to get started with the actual commands. So what are the actual commands? So for Terraform, initially you say Terraform init. It's going to initialize the backend, and it's going to see what's happening in the background. And once you have this green message telling you that the Terraform has been successfully initialized, you're good to go. So what you'll be doing now is you will be validating if this initializing that you did has worked on well, or if your main.terraform file is actually error free and it does not have any problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Terraform validate. So it's going to validate your configurations. Success. So the configuration is all fine. So which means we are good to go. We're good to proceed. So that brings me to my last and most important, part. I'm going to use the Terraform apply. This is the command that will actually help you to set or basically start the deployment. It's going to create this infrastructure for you when you hit this apply. But when you hit apply, it's going to ask for you for a prompt. It will show you the list of resources it wants to create, and it'll ask you for a prompt whether you want to go ahead or something like that. But I'm not really interested at this point, so I'm just going to go and say auto approve, which means I don't have to intervene in the middle and say yes. So yes, I'm going to hit enter. So yeah, you can see that the topology is creating the different resources that you can see here. A lot of them are empty. It says none after apply. So it's just going to hold default values. The ones we've mentioned, for example, name it's showing HashiTalks, it's fetching it from the file. The region, US East 1, the deployment template ID, these are the things that it's fetching automatically. So it's just creating. You can see that it's creating. It's going to take some time usually. So while it's creating, I'm just going to show you guys what's happening on Elastic Cloud. So if we see to Elastic Cloud, you can see that you can see a new deployment which I didn't create, but we created it through Terraform. So it says the deployment name is HashiTalks. Of course, that's the name I gave. And the status is pending because it's not yet done. And the version is the latest Elastic Cloud version, like we said, 8.5.1. And of course, US East 1 is the cloud region that we mentioned. So it's using it. So let's wait until this deployment is done. So now you can see that the deployment has been completed. It says apply complete. So the resources are added. So let's see what's happening on cloud. Okay, the status has changed. So it says healthy now. It was saying pending. Now it says healthy. So let me just go inside and see what's happening. Yes, that's your deployment. So it's opening up your Elastic instance. It's hosted on AWS on US East 1. So yeah, that's your Elastic cloud ready within a matter of less than 5 minutes through Terraform. So I hope you guys had fun. If you have any doubts or questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can find us on LinkedIn and Twitter, where we are most active. So yeah, it was a great session talking to you guys. So I just wanted to say thanks to HashiTalks to have given this opportunity to us. So yes, thanks. That's about it from us.